Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race C strategy guide. It's week number 28 of 2021 and for week 28 we are visiting the Red Bull Ring in Austria and we are in the Group 2 machinery. Now it's around about 4 months since we last visited this combination, albeit with slightly different settings. Let's go through the current settings and see how they differ from 4 months ago. And first up, it's 14 laps this time round rather than 13. Tyre wear is at times 8, fuel is at times 2, tyre wear was at times 10 last time. Last time out we had the medium and the hard tyres, this time it's the medium and the soft tyres. We will assume that both those tyres are going to be mandatory and all your other settings are as standard. BOP is on, no damage, rolling start, slipstream is at real. So a nice enough combination of Group 2 cars around the Red Bull Ring, but given there's a lot of tracks out there that we've never visited in the Group 2 cars in Daily Race C, for example Interlagos, I'd much prefer to be going to a new track and a new combination rather than this. But as I said, it's a fairly nice combination all in all. Okay then, no faffing about here, let's get straight into the strategy. We're going to take a look at the strategy in a slightly different way to what we normally do. Given the pit stops are so long now, every race where there's both a choice of tyres is pretty much a one stop. There's no option for doing a two stop due to that pit loss. So you're either going to be going from soft to medium or medium to soft. So we're going to discuss the pros and cons of each strategy and I'll give you my thoughts on how I think the best way to do each of those strategies are going to be for this race. So strategy A is soft to medium. Now the soft to medium strategy is nowhere near as popular as it used to be. Most people tend to go for the medium to soft, but the soft to medium can still work if you are starting towards the front of the grid, or you can kind of find some way to use those soft tyres potential, because that's really what it all comes down to. It's actually the simpler of the two strategies because really you just run the soft tyres for as long as you think they are quicker than a fresh pair of mediums. Now my findings for this is that is going to come around about laps 7 to 9, depending on how good you are at looking after tyres or whether maybe you're on the pad or the wheel. So probably around about 7 laps for our pad users, 9 laps for our aliens who are really good at looking after the tyres. For this run here I'm actually going to pit at the end of lap number 8. So if we take a look at the lap times there, we started off with a 121.2 with our fresh soft tyres. By lap 7 we're into the low 122s. Now I know I can do low 122s on a fresh set of mediums, so it's definitely time to come into the pits. You can see the soft tyres there looking a little bit second hand, so into the pits we will come now. Just be careful on this pit entrance, it's easy to run wide there and spin. I have actually done that on a couple of occasions, which is more than just a little bit embarrassing, so do try and avoid having that accident. So the pit sequence is unfolding now. Fairly standard fare Gran Turismo pit sequence animation. Takes around about 18.5 seconds for the car to get into the box and stationary, another 5 seconds to get those 4 tyres changed, and as we head back out of the pits you're going to lose around about 21 seconds on the track. Fuel will be no issue whatsoever. You'll probably finish the race with around about 55% of fuel. Now when you do enter the pits, the car will try to bog down in its second gear, which means any car coming out of turn 1 is going to have quite a big overspeed compared to you if they are fairly close, and they're going to be in a pretty good position to go for a move down to the inside of the hairpin. So do be wary of that you do come out the pits a little bit slower than cars exiting turn 1. So let's take a look at how these medium tyres are doing now that we've exchanged them for our very worn soft tyres. Now we did actually screw the pooch a little bit on our first 2 flying laps on the medium tyres, so not very representative. I think we got a massive tank slapper coming out of turn number 1 on lap 10 and just a fairly poor lap on lap number 11, so definitely not where we're looking to get on the medium tyres. Finally though, by laps 12 and 13 we do start to get our act together, put in some fairly representative laps for the medium tyres, and lap times are actually a little bit quicker than the end of our soft stint on laps 6 and 7. So that pit window definitely laps 7, 8 or 9. Any more than 9 laps on the soft tyres you're just wasting lap time because you will be quicker on a fresh set of mediums. In terms of finishing time for the race, it's coming at around about 19.5 minutes, so you'll be very pleased to hear that's a slight increase over last week's Daily Race C, which was only 12 minutes. So a nice wee back to normal for Daily Race C. Let's move on to strategy B then, and this is starting on the medium tyres. Definitely the most common strategy at the moment in Daily Race C is to start on the harder compound of the two, and then move on to the softer compound of the two. So in this case we've got the mediums and the softs, so starting on the mediums is going to be probably the more optimal strategy for the vast majority of the grid. And the reason that kind of works better for most people is that in the opening stages of the race, the pack's all close together, there's a lot more infighting on track. If you're on the soft tyres, you're simply not able to use those soft tyres to their potential, so you're better off to start on the mediums and then move on to the soft tyres for the second part of the race once the kind of traffic has dispersed a little bit, and you're able to then kind of use your soft tyres. It's also extremely strong for making a very powerful undercut, so in terms of what that means is just pitting early in the race, getting some clear track, putting in some fast laps, and then jumping a lot of drivers as they make their pit stop a little bit later. Now for this one, starting on the mediums, I think the minimum amount of laps you're going to be able to do is 4. Now you are going to be pushing your soft tyres for 10 laps at the end if you do that, and you are going to be suffering. You'll see that a little bit later in this run when we attempt to do 9 laps on the soft tyres. I think for most people, and the optimal kind of pit lap is going to be about lap 6 or 7, just to make sure those soft tyres are still worth something towards the end of the race. Particularly the pad runners are going to have to go on to around about lap 6 on the medium tyres before they move on to the soft tyres. So we are actually going to decide to pit at the end of lap number 5 in this run. Again, just be careful on that pit entry there. You can see we ran wide onto the grass. You can spin if you do that just a little bit more extreme than what we did. Now coming out of the pits on your new tyres, do be wary of coming to this big stopping zone into the hairpin. The tyres will be cold. It's very easy to run wide as we just did there. We actually broke early. I thought we compensated enough, but no, the tyres were just not up to temperature. Even though they're soft tyres, they still struggled to get into that apex. Okay then, let's take a look at how we are faring on our 9 lap stint on the soft. So the sort of plan for me when I kind of did this stint here was to make sure we didn't take all the life out of the tyres over the early stages. So our first couple of flying laps there, you may well notice a 121.7 on both laps 7 and 8. About a little bit slower than you might be expecting, considering we did a 121.2 when we started on the softs in the last run. So really what I was just trying to do here was really look after the tyres. Don't take all the performance out of them over the early stages, because we've quite a long stint to do. Once we've done that, we actually put in a fairly couple of decent laps. 121.4 on lap number 9 there, so that's actually the 4th lap on the soft tyres, followed by another 121 on lap 10. After that, the tyre wear did start to kick in, the lap times started to increase, and by lap number 14 here, you can see we are certainly on for our slowest lap of the race. We're 7 tenths down on our quickest lap time, with still a sector to do. But it's just a case when you're kind of going to try and do a long stint on the soft tyres of not over the driving the car. If anything, you need to underdrive the car a little bit. If you kind of just underdrive the car, drive within the car's limits and the tyres limits, you will just get slightly better performance out of them. At the end of the day, there's still a lot of grip within the tyres. Sometimes once the tyres start to get worn, it's about driving a slightly different style to be able to extract that grip from them. But we managed to make it to the end of our 9 lap stint. Car was handling not too bad at all, but certainly a lot of drivers are going to be feeling a lot of pain on the tyres if they try and do a stint of that length. So let's move on to this part of the video where we put a lot of information up on the screen. We're just going to kind of go over some of the stuff I've already spoke about in the video. But yeah, the strategy, given that, well, let's assume that both tyres are going to be mandatory, it's going to be a one-stop. Even with the high tyre wear, it rules out the possibility of a 2-stop strategy due to that 21-second pit loss. The soft tyres perform fairly solidly for around about 6 laps before they start to go off. Around about lap 8, maybe a lap 7 for some people, a fresh set of mediums will be faster than worn softs. I think you probably could push the soft tyres up to 9 laps if you're starting on them, but you're going to have to be very good in your tyre wear and very confident on driving on worn tyres. The medium tyres are initially coming around about 1 second slower than the softs. I think the gap's maybe slightly lower than that, maybe around about 8 to 9 tenths. But this gap reduces slowly per lap with the tyre wear. If you're starting on the mediums, I think you can pit as early as lap 4 if you really want to go for a massive undercut, gain track position, but you will be suffering towards the end of the race on those worn soft tyres. I think the optimal lap's more likely to be lap 6 or 7. It's really just a case, are you confident in dirty air and overtaking other cars, Then running those medium tyres a little bit longer and having better soft tyres towards the end might be a better strategy for you. If you're a driver a bit like myself who's maybe just a little bit too respectful when it comes to overtaking, is not a fan of driving in dirty air, then going for the undercut, pitting in maybe lap 4 or 5 and then just suffering at the end and maybe kind of sacrificed a few positions as cars catch up with me on better tyres would be the better strategy for someone like myself. It really just depends on your driving style and your kind of approach to the race sometimes. Okay then, let's jump on board our Nissan GTR for a lap guide to finish the video off and talk about some of the quirks of this track in terms of track limits and brake markers. So up into turn number 1, just before the 100 metre board is your friend. Into the apex of turn number 1, don't run wide, you might well pick up a penalty, although they can be very inconsistent on that corner. Third gear as you exit turn 1 should minimise the wheel spin and help to look after those tyres and avoid the sausage on the inside. Into the hairpin here, again the 100 metre board is your friend, again avoid the yellow sausage on the inside. There's a kind of a point and squirt corner, get the car slowed down in a straight line, get it rotated, get on the throttle once the car is nice and straight. 100 metre board for the downhill right hander here, again get the car maybe overslowed, get it nice and pointed into the apex, get on the throttle as early as you can, should help you with your lap time. 50 metre board as we come into the sort of 180 degree left hander here, very important corner for lap time. It's easy to drift wide here over the red and white curb and get a penalty. Again for the exit here on this corner here, if you go all the way over the red and white curb you can pick up a penalty for that. Very tricky corner that, very hard to find a marker to get on the power. Just before the 50 metre board for this right hander here, be careful of that curb on the inside, it can't upset the car, don't run wide over the red and white curb, you will pick up a penalty for that. And the same for the last corner, avoid the sausage on the inside, it can upset the car, don't run wide, you can pick up a penalty. And that's a lap with a few hints and tips of how to get a Group 2 car around the Red Bull Ring in Austria. As I said earlier on in the video, fairly nice combination, the Group 2 cars do feel very nice to drive around here. I will once again just say I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not going to a track we've never used the Group 2 cars on before. There is several of them out there, particularly in Daily Race C, Interlagos, Le Mans, Nürburgring to name but a few. Yes, we've maybe been to Nürburgring and I think a Daily Race B, but we haven't been there in a Daily Race C. But we will be doing quite a lot of live streaming of this one. This week we are off work. We've been a little bit of a dirge of live stream just recently, but we'll try and make up for that this week. Do join me for that. I think we will be doing one around about lunchtime on Monday to test out this new race, so do join me for that if you can. If you've made it to this point of the video, then thank you very much for watching. Please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye now.